He regarded her with a wicked grin. "Praise indeed." Veronica glanced at him from beneath her lashes. "How does it feel to be England's most sought-after bachelor?" High-pitched giggling rang out from behind him. He rolled his eyes. Not again. Genevieve's shoulders shook with laughter. "Watch out, Shelbourne. A bevy of little misses are stalking you." He grimaced. "Rescue me?" The two women laughed, blew him a kiss, and drifted away, leaving him to the predators. When he turned around, the four silly chits he'd seen earlier halted and stared at him agog. Given their youthful faces and puritanical white gowns, he surmised not one of them was a day over 17. He needed a wife, but he'd no intention of robbing the proverbial cradle. When they continued to gape at him as if he were a Greek statue come to life, he took a step closer. "Boo!" Their shrieks rang in his ears as he walked off into the crowd. Ignoring the avid stares directed at him, Tristan squeezed past numerous hot, perspiring bodies, and not the kind one hoped to find naked and willing in bed. With more than a little regret, he banished thoughts of naked and willing in order to concentrate on virtuous and virginal. First, he must locate Lord and Lady Broughton. Perhaps his hostess would introduce him to a sensible young lady of good breeding. Perhaps pigs would fly, too. He might have avoided all this nonsense if his dear mamma had cooperated. When he'd informed her of his bridal requirements a month ago, she'd swatted him with her fan and told him he had rocks in his head. A loud bang nearly sent him ducking for cover. Feminine gasps erupted all around him. Alarmed, he sought the source of the disturbance and realized it was only the slamming of the card-room door. The gentleman responsible for this discourteous act was none other than his oldest friend, Mark Darset, Earl of Hawkfield. Tristan hailed Hawk with a wave and walked in that direction. Intent upon reaching his friend, Tristan failed to notice the impending danger until something crunched beneath his shoe. A quick glance to the floor confirmed his worst fear. The 13th incident of a dropped fan. Damn and blast, he'd crushed it. He lifted his gaze, expecting a devious mamma and her blushing daughter. Instead, a petite young woman with honey-blonde hair stood staring at his shoe. She said something that sounded suspiciously like ashes to ashes, dust to dust. With all the voices ringing in his ears, he assumed he'd misheard. Though he was tempted to walk past her, he couldn't ignore the fan he'd broken. "I beg your pardon," he said, bending to retrieve the mangled ivory sticks. "You are not to blame. Someone jostled my arm." Her excuse was the worst he'd heard yet. He didn't even bother to hide his cynicism as his gaze travelled up her white gown. Blue ribbons trimmed her bodice, drawing his attention to her generous décolletage. He continued his perusal to her heart-shaped face. She watched him with twitching lips, pillow-plump lips. He inhaled on a constricted breath. Lord, with that mouth she could make a fortune as a courtesan. Her long-lashed eyes twinkled. "Sir, if you will return the remains, I will see to its burial." Her witty remark stunned him. Belatedly, he realized he was grinning up at her. She probably thought he'd fallen for her ruse. Exasperated with himself, he grasped the broken sticks, rose, and placed the ruined fan in her small gloved hands. He met her amused gaze again, noting she did not simper or blush. She was no miss fresh out of the schoolroom. "I apologize for the damage. Allow me to make reparations," he said. "It is quite beyond repair," she said. "I insist upon compensating you for my pain and suffering," she laughed. "I assure you the fan's death is a relief."